Imagine a time long ago, a time when the world was still young and full of untamed potential. Two great powers dominated the Mediterranean world, their influence stretching far and wide across the ancient lands. One was Rome, a rising empire known for its strength, discipline, and unyielding ambition. The other was Greece, a land of philosophers, artists, and warriors where wisdom and beauty were held in the highest regard. These two civilizations, each with their own unique strengths and characteristics, were destined to clash in a struggle for supremacy. Their encounter would shape the course of history, leaving an indelible mark on the world. Rome was a young and ambitious power, eager to expand its influence and control. It was hungry for land, glory, and the wealth that came with conquest. Its legions, vast armies of disciplined soldiers, marched across Italy, conquering all who stood in their way, leaving a trail of Roman dominance in their wake. Rome was determined to become the dominant force in the ancient world, a power that none could challenge. Greece, on the other hand, was an older civilization steeped in tradition and culture. It was a land of independent city-states, each fiercely proud of its own identity, achievements, and contributions to the greater Greek legacy. Athens, Sparta, Thebes, these cities had produced some of the greatest thinkers, artists, and warriors the world had ever known, each contributing to the rich tapestry of Greek civilization. For a time, these two civilizations existed in relative peace, separated by the Adriatic Sea, each flourishing in their own right. But as Rome grew stronger and more ambitious, it inevitably turned its attention eastward, towards the riches and the glory of the Greek world, seeing an opportunity to expand its empire even further. The clash between these two titans was only a matter of time, an inevitable confrontation that would determine the future of the Mediterranean. Their encounter was more than just a clash of armies. It was a meeting of two worlds. It was a clash of cultures, of ideas, of ways of life, each with its own vision of what civilization should be. Rome, with its emphasis on military might, centralized power, and engineering prowess, stood in stark contrast to the more fragmented intellectual and artistic world of the Greeks, where democracy and philosophy flourished. The stage was set for a clash of civilizations, the echoes of which would resonate through history, shaping the world in ways that are still felt today. The first major encounter between Rome and Greece came in the late 3rd century BC. It was a conflict that would become known as the Pyrrhic War, a series of battles that would test the might and resolve of both civilizations. This war was sparked by a seemingly minor event, a plea for help from a Greek city called Tarentum, which found itself in a precarious position. Tarentum, located in southern Italy, feared the growing power of Rome, which was expanding its influence and territory at an alarming rate. They called upon Pyrrhus, the king of Epirus, a region in northwestern Greece, for aid. Pyrrhus was a seasoned warrior with a reputation for brilliance on the battlefield. Pyrrhus was known as a brilliant military strategist and a courageous leader whose ambition knew no bounds. He saw an opportunity to check Roman expansion and perhaps even carve out an empire of his own in the west, a dream that had long tantalized him. Pyrrhus arrived in Italy with an army of 25,000 men and 20 war elephants, a formidable force that he hoped would be enough to turn the tide in favor of Tarentum. These elephants, creatures rarely seen in Italy, terrified the Roman soldiers who had never faced such beasts in combat before. In the first major battle at Heraclea in 280 BC, Pyrrhus's army, aided by the charge of his elephants, crushed the Roman legions, delivering a stunning blow to Rome. This victory, however, came at a great cost. Pyrrhus's army suffered heavy casualties, a toll that would weigh heavily on his future campaigns. Pyrrhus's army suffered heavy casualties, with many of his best soldiers lost in the fierce fighting. Another such victory he is said to have remarked, "And we shall be utterly ruined." His words gave rise to the term Pyrrhic victory, meaning a victory won at such a high cost that it is essentially a defeat. His words gave rise to the term Pyrrhic victory, meaning a victory won at such a high cost that it is essentially a defeat, a concept that has echoed through history. The Pyrrhic War raged on for several years, with both sides suffering heavy losses and neither able to secure a decisive advantage. Pyrrhus won another costly victory at Asculum in 279 BC, but his losses continued to mount, draining his resources and weakening his position. But his losses continued to mount, and the strain on his army was becoming increasingly apparent. The Romans, despite their early defeats, were relentless. They refused to give up, driven by a determination to defend their homeland and repel the invaders. They refused to give up, showing a resilience that would become a hallmark of Roman military strategy. They learned from their mistakes, adapting their tactics to counter the threat of the elephants, developing new strategies and weapons to neutralize the advantage Pyrrhus had. The tide began to turn against Pyrrhus, as the Romans grew more adept at countering his tactics and exploiting his weaknesses. In 275 BC, at the Battle of Beneventum, the Romans, using javelins and other anti-elephant weapons, inflicted a decisive defeat on Pyrrhus's forces, marking a turning point in the war. This defeat forced Pyrrhus to withdraw from Italy, ending his dream of a Western empire and marking the beginning of Rome's rise as a dominant power in the Mediterranean.